What are we jamming on now, Jay? What are you jamming on now? I'm guessing Maelstrom fucking ESO here.
Yeah, man. This is so veteran
Yeah.
Maelstrom
I
Arena.
can't believe you're worse with this than I am with Subnautica.
I mean, at this point, I've been playing this game for several years now. You know, I have so much time invested. I'm like champion level 1700, like all this legendary gear. It's good to have a game where like my progress has carried on for so long, and I can kind of walk around.
Yeah,
and just
Clash
like,
of Clans. I
smash
know.
things.
I know
It's
how it feels.
fantastic.
Clash of Clans. I know how it feels. Yeah.
But you know, this. I mean, we talk about this game regularly. It's a game I've definitely had on and off. I've definitely taken long breaks from it because of the style of game it is. You can come back to it, but it's funny recently because I have recently obtained 2 different titles that I have long coveted. And in this game, think of these titles as kind of like your Game of Thrones, like Mother of Dragons, like Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, The Unchained, like all those random like titles that come after your name. But these are exciting because it's when you're walking around town, you meet people, you're playing with people because it's an MMO. You see people and you see their titles. And so I obtained Flawless Conqueror, which is what you see the scoreboard behind me, which is completing the veteran 9-round Maelstrom Arena with all vitality, no deaths, and it's my highest score. I use no buffs, everything like that. So super excited to walk around with the title, the Flawless Conqueror. So from now on, you can refer to me as Gentleman JB, the Flawless Conqueror.
That's good. Demio, I mean, you play Demio, you know this. It has each level has its own title like that. So when you get a new one, it shows up on the bar above your thing. So every time I get a new level, like I think I'm Lord now, or is what it's like. It's I think it's level 74. I'm one off the new high point with the new update. And yeah, it's like Lord or some shit like that. So like every time I look over, like that's what you have to call me that now. Like you'll refer to me as Lord.
Yes, it's fun, you know, because there's so many titles that you get throughout playing the game through the campaign, doing delves that are kind of like whatever titles anybody can get that. But like some of these like this are things that are freaking hard to get. So excited to get that one. And 12 hours the night before that, I actually also obtained one of the hardest hard mode trials, veteran trial titles in the game, Voice of Reason. And so this is completing Veteran Asylum Sanctorum +2. So it's beating the final boss of this veteran trial, 12-person trial, with the mini bosses at the same time, both secondary bosses at the same time, each doing their own separate mechanics all at once. And so I had never beaten that, like, with those. I've beaten the veteran by itself with, like, each mini-boss separate, like, doing them separate, and with one mini-boss, but never 2. And I was pretty excited to get that, you know, great title. But all of this is because of, there's been many changes throughout the game, throughout all the years, and there's this crazy build right now where you're basically heavy attacking, and if you're a sorcerer, you can get this build where you can just heavy attack, do insane damage, like 100,000 damage per second, while having like tank level health. And that's essentially the build that I found and like a bunch of guild members found. So our trial team has like a team of full sorcerers, all with this heavy attack build, just like nuking shit, like going through the trials, like the older trials that we haven't played in a while, and like no deathing them and getting like highest score, like leaderboard scores ever. And we feel like this is something that's definitely going to get nerfed because it feels like this just feels too OP. Like we're basically tanks running around with like trial level damage. You know, it's not as high damage as like my meta build using daggers and everything, which makes sense. But the fact that this is like in-game level raid damage, like you can destroy anything in the game with almost tank level health and resistances and heals. It's the definition of OP, but it's a hell of a lot of fun right now. So much fun.
Okay.
So pretty much been spending a lot of time there, just kind of clearing out more achievements and picking up secondary titles for the fun of it. The only other game that I even messed around with, which was yesterday actually, Monster Hunter Rise came to Game Pass. So, you know, other people I know like Jesse have played this game so many hours, like immediately, like 50 hours upon release type of thing. And I downloaded my character yesterday, and you have a couple helpers. You get to create them. It's like a dog, and this little cat person that rides a dog. Like, I forget what they're called. It's freaking crazy. But that's pretty much all I've done, but I'm ready and excited to play that. And that is it.
I think I played one of those on PS3 a very long time ago. I was mildly entertained, but it was...
Yeah. They remind me of... I've been told that it's very similar to Dauntless, which I play, a lot. That's fun, cross-platform. But apparently this is like that, but a more polished version in some ways. So we'll see. We'll report back with more details next episode.
Word. Okay.
What about you? What have you been jamming? Yeah, that's it, man.
I think I mentioned last time that I was kind of on the hunt for a new story game to dive into. So I probably from editing the podcast and listening to myself say it back to myself, I think I took that as motivation to look further and try to find something. So the first thing I ended up basically just going through my wish list on Oculus and kind of just looking at some of the story games that I had been considering for a while, but for whatever reason, price, whatever it might be, hadn't bid on. And there was one called A Fisherman's Tale VR, which is developed by Interspace and published by Vertigo Games. And it was 30% off in the store, so $10 instead of fucking 14 or whatever it would have been. And it had been on my wish list for a long time, so I was like, fuck it, dive in. It won
more fishing? Oh my gosh.
It's not, well, I mean, it is. I guess it is kind of fishing. You don't actually fish at all in it, though.
Oh, okay.
It won VR Game of the Year in 2019, so, if you respect awards, I don't, but I know some do. So, yeah, I won that award. Yeah, I won that award. But yeah, it's a absolutely beautiful game, great story, has an amazing gameplay mechanic that I really enjoyed, and I totally get why it, especially 4 years ago now, it was probably mind-blowing to people as far as, a lot of VR games have done so much weird stuff now, as far as like the play loop and all that maybe this wouldn't land as revolutionary now. But in any event, you play as the tender to a lighthouse, and all the voice acting has like a French accent, and you have to assume this is set on the coast of France, I believe. And the whole game takes place in the lighthouse and an adjoining shanty that the lighthouse keeper lives in. So this one building, basically. So you're inside theoretically the whole time, and your character is in the model building. So there is a perfect replica of the shanty lighthouse that you live in on a table in the middle of the shanty, right? So the game starts, you wake up and you find yourself in this kind of fantastical, maybe dream situation where you see an exact real-time replicant of yourself in the model, as well as in the model's model, and in that model's model, so on and so forth. So when you look up, like, so you see that look on the table, and when you look up, the roof's gone, and you realize that you are someone else's replicant. So it's in this, space. I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for something like that, but you're in. That's the world that you're in, and everything you do in your shanty, like the space that you're in, happens in the model shanties above and below you. So the whole game is puzzle-solving situations using that dynamic in one way or another, and it's really, really brilliant and really fucking interesting, and amazing brain teasers because you're trying to sometimes they work in just the size of what you're doing. I don't know. It's so hard to explain. Sometimes it's a thing because you can reach into that model and pull something out, and it's the size that it was in the model. So sometimes you have to reach in and grab this little thing that's smaller in that replicant's world to manipulate something with something that size in your mind, and vice versa. Sometimes you want the thing above you that's bigger to do something that, because it's bigger and maybe you stick it in, it sticks it into your shanty, it changes something. It's really outside the box thinking required to get through a lot of these puzzles. And it's not, I wouldn't call it really hard. I definitely, easily the most negative thing about it is it's rather short. So it's good that I caught it on sale for $10. It's maybe 2 to 3 hours tops, unless you're a total dunce with the puzzles, I guess. But, in all the reviews, that's the same thing. Everyone's like, amazing game. Wish it was longer. So it's don't go into it thinking it's gonna fucking take you weeks or anything. It's definitely just like I beat it in one night. So really fucking fun, really beautiful, really good story. A lot of cut scenes and shit. That it's the whole thing's like this thing with your dad who was like this really tough fisherman on you, or really tough fisherman that was hard on you, and yada yada yada, and was disappointed in you because you weren't able to maintain the family tradition as a fisherman, and you've taken this in his perceived view a step back lineage wise by becoming a lighthouse keeper instead of a fisherman. So there's a really good story going on with it, and yeah, some of the stuff, some of the mechanics and shit are really really cool, and it's just it's another example of just my next game too, just VR, the shit. It's just it's fucking unbelievable what you can do and how. I don't know, man. Just boundary breaking of what a game can be, should be, is what is possible in gaming. It's just so incredible.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, that's a lot of cost for one night. Seems like you get a lot more value out of like Game Pass, but who am I?
No, that's one game. $10. The next game was only, I think, was $25, and this one is, so the last Clockwinder, it's the image behind me. This was the 2022 game of the year. So 3 years later.
Ooh. What, in the VR category? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
2022 VR game of the year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had such a good experience with Fisherman's Tale, and I was just itching for that kind of game again. And I went ahead, this was, like I said, 25, so pretty close to, the most these things cost on here. So I bid on it anyways. And this game, dude, same. I mean, that, like I said, I was blown away by that multiverse thing in the Fisherman's Tale. This game. Okay, so the story is also very fantastical in that the setting is there's this tree and it's out in the middle of the ocean, and I guess it's probably the future. It's not really described or explained, and it's irrelevant. There's this tree, massive tree, out in the middle of the ocean, and it's like the tree of life kind of idea. It keeps the fucking whole thing, the whole machine, universe, world, whatever, going. So there's this person who is like, a finite, non-fantastical being that somehow ends up being the caretaker of this thing. And it's like, the person spends a large part of their adult life in this job, alone on this tree, doing this, all the things that need to happen to keep this thing running, And you take the role of this one, I think it's after, it's been like a week since I played, and I'm maybe spacing a little bit on this, but I think you're the one after it. But I think it's the last Clockwinder tried to basically, because as a human being, you're going to fuck shit up on this like never-ending responsibility. So the one prior to you had this idea to automate it, to make it so a human being couldn't fuck it up, basically, and thereby making it more efficient, and a person doesn't have to spend their whole life there, and it never gets fucked up, and the world doesn't fucking come crashing down because of someone's dumb human error, So I think you were like her young apprentice is the role you play, and you have to go back to this tree after, because you had left, like you were like her apprentice. The two of you kind of had a falling out, and you left, and I don't think it really explains what happened to the last one, but they're gone. Shit's fucked up. You have to go back to the tree, and you're trying to fix everything that's been fucked up because she died or disappeared or whatever it was. So you go in, and so this last person, there's all these things. A lot of it's very predicated on growing. Like there's a lot of like you have to grow this vegetation or fruits or whatever, and those things, those plants, these rare plants fuel the machine in different ways, and instead of a human being doing all the little individual tasks to grow, cultivate, harvest, and fuel the machine with the stuff, this last caretaker invented this automaton thing. This is the thing next to me right now. So these things mimic your behavior. So you get this power where you hit a button and it starts a loop, and it starts with just a 1 second loop. I've opened it up to 2 and 4 second loops as well. But basically, you hit a button, and then whatever you do with your hands in that time loop, or move, wherever you move, these automatons will mimic that exact behavior in that exact spot and grab whatever you grab, turn whatever you turn, hit whatever switch you hit, whatever you do in that time loop, this automaton replicates it. And you can make as many of these automatons as you want in a room or in a space or whatever. So what you are doing in this game is you're designing systems to accomplish tasks with these automatons in loops. So, it's amazing how it all times out with 1, 2, and 4 second things. I guess it's all on the beat of, it's like music. Three's music works, I'm sure, in our minds. But whatever. But there's incentives to accomplish these tasks with as few automatons as possible. So you're trying to do it in the smartest way you can. So just that loop mechanic alone is just unbelievably entertaining and engrossing and interesting. But even beyond that, even the maximizing efficiency, even if that doesn't appeal to you, just the act of accomplishing these tasks with these robots is wild and crazy. Like the one I posted a few videos, the one when I first started learning that you could, because it's like playing. It's kind of like a basketball shot, dude. It's like some of the things to make it really efficient. You're trying to there'll be obstacles in a room you need to get around. So maybe you're tossing one over this guy over here around this bookcase. He's got to throw it back over here to this one on this side of the bookcase, and then it's got to go into this hole over here. Now you can either do 3 automatons to pluck it off the plant, throw it to the next guy on the one side, then he has to throw it to the other one, and then that guy can just drop it into the hole, the harvesting hole, or you can fucking have that guy pluck it off and shoot that shit like Steph Curry over 2 bookcases onto the other side of the room into a hole. And then once that's of course hard as shit. But if you get it, and then you have a 1 second loop of that dude doing that every second that you figured out, oh my God, dude, it is unbelievably satisfying. Unbelievably satisfying. Okay. And it gets way more complicated. There's some of the vegetables, there's one that you can't touch. If you touch it, it disperse. It's like a water-based thing. So you have to do everything with you have to use these little fucking slingshot things. And then there's one that floats, but is also very unstable. So you have to use a knife to cut it off the thing, and then kind of it's trying to float away, and you're just using your hands to you can't grab it. You have to just kind of guide it very delicately to wherever, and usually you have to guide it somewhere down because it goes up naturally. So there's just a lot of shit like that is just, again, trying to, you're trying to get these things through these spaces and accomplish these crazy fucking things. And then so that's just harvesting them is one thing, and then there's another room for each fruit or each machine, whatever, where you have to usually work in previous vegetables too and design these molecule things. So there's these machines that have the connector things between molecules, and then there's a board that shows you the exact molecule structure necessary to make this machine go. And then you have to use these automatons to within the constraints of each one of these vegetables or fruits limitations, or you can't grab them, or one explodes, whatever they are, you have to design a system that gets them all into the molecule structure you need this room needs, and then get that molecule into this machine over and over and over again to create the seeds that you need to do a thing, So dude, it is, I'm sure this is not it's the game of the year, so a lot of people, clearly enough people like it, but I'm sure it's not a thing that would really pluck the strings of every person. But if you have a mind for designing a system that it makes me think maybe I missed my calling as like a factory fucking system designer or something, you know? Like I want to start sending out resumes, dude. Like, because you know it's so amazing because you like walk into a space and like you know it's just a dead room. There's nothing happening here, and there's like okay, I see where the things are, where I can harvest plants. I see where the things got to get to, and there's just no guidance, and it's just like figure it out, and like there's a genuinely, dude, an infinite number of solutions in any room for any problem, probably. But what's the most efficient way? What's the way you actually enjoy doing of the different like activities of these? Like I said, throwing these things, they can, you know, they do whatever you can do with your hands. So like you can, whatever the thing you enjoy doing most, it's gonna have your flavor to it. You know, and again, it is just such a. It's so fucking brilliant, and the story too is really good. There's you know you find all these tapes and shit, and there's like you know there's a piano in the one room, and I don't know shit about music and I can't play piano, but I know I can use those automatons to play a piano song, and I'm sure that is probably it's like a fully functional piano, you know. So like I know that something cool is probably there, probably an achievement that I know is amazing and to accomplish. I don't know what it is, and I'll probably never get it because I have no musical inclination whatsoever. But yeah, it's just such a brilliant thing with the fucking automatons, man. It's so fucking good, and you know I'm on like the back probably 20-15% now. Yeah. I got into these last few things and I saw what the problems that when I was like, oh my god, these are gonna be so fucking hard. And I haven't played it in like a week and a half since. And it is very much you get, you know, you'll sit and fucking be trying to figure something out, especially to get to a certain number of automatons accomplishing it that, you know, gets you the achievement that you want. Like you'll just be like, what? That's fucking impossible. There's no way to get that here with these fucking physical constraints. There's just no way that's possible, you know? And yeah, you'll walk into a room and like, it's like a 3-tiered thing, of course, you know, like 9 automatons, 7 automatons, or 5 automatons to get X number per minute produced, you know? And it's just like, you know, it's just like 5. No way you're doing that. 5. It's not possible with 5. There's no way, you know. But every one of them has a solution like that. Yeah, and it is just so sad when you get it, dude. It is so satisfying. It's unbelievably fulfilling video game. Really fucking good. And again, just another testament to like it's just so outside the box concept wise and beyond anything that could ever happen on a flat. It's just not possible to happen. Not that way. Like you know, if you had to do these activities on a flat screen with buttons, it would be awful. It would be so boring, you know. Probably not. It probably still be because you're still designing the system. It will probably be still kind of fun. But like the act of because I mean you like I said, it can tell, man. When your shots, it's like if you're trying to do the fucking basketball shot thing, man, it's a matter of fucking nanometers, you know, and like getting it right and the trajectory, you can feel the wrong and the right when you release it. Nice. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know how many times I'm like, fuck, that's not even, like, as it leaves my hand, I'm like, that's not it. You know, so fucking good, dude. So fucking good. And they do so many good things with complicating it too, to keep the difficulty increasing and the variance in the gameplay of just, you know, mechanics that you got to physically do, you know, and like, you know, the tough thing is, like one of the first reviews I saw for it that was bad was someone, a handicapped person, I think confined to a wheelchair. And like it says that you can play the game sitting down. You cannot play this game sitting down. It's not possible, dude. Like I don't have enough space. Like there's some, like I've had to like, at least again, like here's the thing. Like I don't know. There probably is a way to do it without having to move, you know? But it's certainly harder and you're certainly limited because they'll move. If you can, I mean, you can't teleport with them, but you can walk with them. So if you can clear out a space big enough, you can just run over to something and fucking put it somewhere. And in the space, that automaton will do that thing. You know, so like if you can get your guardian set up in a way where you're not running into a fucking table while you do it, you know. Yeah. So I'm like constantly like, okay, I know exactly what my space is, and you can see your, you know, you can. I'll like put my arm out to get the guardian to come up so I can see it. And kind of think about what I'm trying to do with this particular automaton fucking set, you know, and like make sure my guardian. So I'm constantly thinking about that's the interesting thing to do it. It's like it adds a layer of VR awareness in that like I'm constantly thinking about my place in the space in the game and my place in the real world space, and like having to marry those two things real time as I solve problems and accomplish difficult physical tasks. It's a level of like I don't know, just difficult, like, human functionality.
I don't know if I like that.
It's one, like, if you can figure it out and do it. And here's the thing. If you're not trying to hit those achievements, you probably don't need. You can if you use however many automatons, you can definitely do this without having to implement this level of difficulty, I suppose. But once you get in there, you're trying to maximize it and trying to figure that out. And like, it's just there's times you're like, if I could just walk over there, that would make this work. And like, so you're like, I'll like stop. I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Like get the thing and like turn. You can like turn the fucking whole world with the stick. So you like get the stick, like the space I wanted. You have to like line up the space I want to run in my actual living room with the space, like turn the thing to get it so that I have the long track. Cause like my track in my living room is shaped kind of like a T with where the top is longer than the stem of it, So like, it's more of like a Tetris block. I would call it like the T Tetris block with like, to be a T, it would need a second block going down that stem, to really feel like a T where it's long. But so basically they're all kind of the same length, every thing, So like, if I need to really do space, it's got to be in the top part, So like, I got to like turn the whole world. It's just really, really interesting and just requires so much more, I don't know, fucking thought, It's really, really, really consuming mentally, and that if you want that kind of game, I don't know if I've ever played anything that pushes you so hard in a fun way. I mean, there's hard games where you're like, oh, I don't even see the end goal here. I don't even see the finish line. But like, you can always see the finish line here. It's just how do I get there in a way that works, And in that way, it's really well done. It's really, really well done. Such a good game.
It sounds fun, but also sounds like a game that would be more fun living in my last New York apartment because I had huge ceilings, much like the living room area was so big and open. That's where I'm like, that would have been perfect.
You definitely want space, and this is definitely one. And yeah, because you get going into because you can just you're trying to nail that 1 second loop, so you're just fucking going, man. And like, you can get, you have to make sure you're in your space safely because you can get consumed enough where you're smack. If you're not paying attention, you'll smack into shit for sure. So it's definitely a safety first video game, but very, 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 very good. And they did just it's so fucking good. It's such a fucking good game. Such a good job. And I just can't even imagine, like, just how did they come up, these, how do they even come up with these ideas? Like, how do you even, I don't know, man. You just gotta. It's like any artist. You fucking they have some predisposed fucking aptitude for that thought.
Well, channel. This one, I feel like I've read enough. This one feels like it organically could have come out of having the technical know-how to be able to create the VR technology where like something is copying your movements and then being like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? And just build a game around it,
Yeah, this is definitely, this is actually, this is a game I absolutely need to look up developer interviews with. And just,
that would be cool to understand. Like, is it like that? Like, or how did you come up with this?
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it's fascinating to listen and talk about coming up with this game because it's so much fucking fun. So I got that cooking, not quite done, but quite a ways into it. And yeah, I'm up to level 74 on Demio. So Amy and I are playing pretty much every night. So
I've
been playing the shit out of it. Nice. They got with each level they give you a few new things. They have a really cool the 72 level die is a slimeling die. It's the purple slimes.
Yeah.
So it's that color, and it's got like these crude dots on it. Are the the single hit crit and then the miss, and it's a really cool looking one for sure. So it's the first time I've changed my die in a while, so that's pretty fun. And then Mighty Coconut they're dropping Atlantis on the 26th, so I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be dope. I love deep sea shit, and that will be amazing. And then, I decided, PS5 coming out, and like, I'm just whatever, new year, trying to fucking throw shit away. I remembered I had all that PS4 shit, and the PSVR headset and stuff, cluttering up my game accessory drawer. So I'm like, now is the time to sell this, because once this thing drops substantially in value, the second the PSVR 2 comes out. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell this thing. So yeah, I listed on eBay, and then I get a question from someone asking for the software version on the thing. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta plug this fucking thing in. So like, I get it out, I plug it in, and it turns on. And, I haven't turned this thing on. It's funny, actually. All the dates are the 23rd of December, 2 years ago. So basically, 2 days before I got the Xbox. So it just hasn't been on, And so I fired up, and like, I had the Subnautica menu as like my menu, my RetroArch menu. And so, that fires up, the music starts, the fish are flying around, and it looks like a Subnautica scene, and I'm like, oh fuck, Subnautica, that's right, I have the whole version on here of the original, because I have Below Zero on the Xbox, but I don't have the original. That was just Game Pass. So I fucking I fire that up, and I get the software thing, and I'm like, well, it's got to wait a few days to sell it anyways. Like, I kind of wanted to play this and fuck around. So I started a hardcore version of Subnautica on the PS4. So hardcore, maybe that's common knowledge, but like, basically permadeath, like, you die, game over, everything's lost, So I started fucking playing. I just went off completely the deep end with this shit, dude. Like, they had done a big update. That was part of the thing too. They had done a big update on it. So like, all the quality of life improvements that were built into Below Zero, they backwards compatibility into the original version.
Okay.
Nice. A lot of the new building or base building structures and shit. I think there's some new fish and wildlife things that were put in as well from the second one. There seems to be. It's been so long since I played, but I feel like there's shit in it, fish-wise and stuff, that I don't remember, so could be true, could be not, I'm not entirely sure, and I didn't take the time to really read every single update thing, but that's, of course, cool, too, to have the new base building possibilities in the game, so you can play the game in a different way, of course, so that's interesting in a way, and yeah, so I've started 3 games now, so like, I started on the PS4, and then I eventually sold it, so I like, fuck, and like, there's, I'm like Googling ways to take a PS4 saved game into an Xbox thing,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, not possible. You can't do that. So
psycho behavior.
Yes, I can't do that. So I'm like, fuck, I just buy it on fucking Xbox, $30, sucker. So I bought it on. I bought whatever. That doesn't matter. I bought the VR version of Below Zero on my laptop once, because I was when I first got the Oculus, I was able to play VR. I haven't tried that in a while. I keep meaning to make the effort to try that again, to see if they fixed whatever got fucked up that wouldn't let me do that, because that would be fun. But so I bought that there. I bought Below Zero on Xbox also. I obviously have bought the original on PS4. I've now bought the original on so I've just spent so much money on Subnautica. It's fucking crazy. It just doesn't make fucking sense. But yeah, so then I started on there, and I got basically to around the same place that I had gotten to on the PS4. So I would say probably 10 to 15 hours maybe into the game, and I played the game so much, and I just think I got it so down, so like, I go out to do this like mundane ass task. If you played the game, there's this jelly shroom cave that's like a big barrier to entry for relatively early game. Like, it's kind of farther down than your Seamoth, than your little submersible fucking thing can go. So you kind of got a free dive down there, and it's very disorienting. And there's like, everything kind of looks the same, and it's a cave, so you can't just go straight up to the surface. So like, I go down there to get some dumb shit that I needed, some little resources to build some next upgrade thing that I wanted, and I go down there, and like, this has happened to me before too, so it's even dumber that I let myself do it. It's happened to me before, like originally playing the game. You can get, it's so disorienting down there that you can get lost really fucking easy. And I go down there and I get lost, and like, I'm like, oh fuck. I'm running out of air, and I'm like, I'm like, oh my god, this is permanent. Like, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna lose the game. Like, it's like the stakes are so high. Like, I put in so much time on this. Like, I'm just gonna lose the game. Oh my god! And like, I'm like freaking out and like fucking going around and like I couldn't fucking get out. And like I like hitting this one thing I don't think I've ever had to use it. Like the air bladder that's like if you use it rather, it's like a air pocket that jerks you up to the surface, but if you're in a cave, that doesn't work. so like I'm hitting that for the first time in my life. It doesn't fucking, I still die, and like it dies, and like I'm literally sitting there playing, and I turn to Amy, I'm like, oh my god, I'm fucking dead. I'm fucking dead. Like, oh my god, unbelievable. So I fucking I just like sat there sad for a few minutes, like just like I can't believe I did that. I played this game too much to do something that stupid. Especially I wasn't doing some boundary pushing part of the game. I was just doing a mundane task that went fucking sideways, and like that's the difference between. The whole point of that game is like this. I was texting with Jab right before we got on about this. Like playing with permadeath in that game in particular is like, because that's the whole thing with that game. Like you're in this alien environment that is highly dangerous at all times, and like the first time you play that game, you feel that a lot, but it goes away once you become familiar with your environment. You know the constraints of like what the fish can do, what they can't, what you can do, what your equipment is, what's the like all that. A lot of that goes away. Permadeath is a whole new thing. It's like playing the game anew. Everything is done differently. So many shortcuts that you might take without permadeath. Nope, not doing that. It's a complete. Like, I'm finding things and creating solutions for things that I didn't even view as problems previously. So like it's like playing the game really close,
brand new,
to new. And like obviously how much I fucking crushed on this game, like to feel like that playing this game after having played it so much in particular is really satisfying and fun. So I'm fucking off the deep end. I'm gonna play it all the way to the end, I'm sure. And fucking it's so fucking good. With that like constant weight on your shoulders, it's really fucking interesting, man. So
got it. No wonder I've been seeing you Todd online so much. I was like, Todd has been online in Subnautica quite a bit. What's the story here?
Yeah, Todd is fucking off the deep end on Subnautica. Yep. Yeah, I started. So yeah, like I think that happened. The thing happened on like I don't know, like Saturday or something, and I couldn't even pick it back up again until I started on Wednesday. I had to like take 4 days off, just sad. Like I went to bed that night sad. I was just sad, man. It was so sad. So fucking sad. Yeah, chugging right along now.
Jam, man. I don't know, but I guess I can see in that kind of game how it could be fun. But crush it.
There's this big thing. You have to go back to the ship that crashed to recon some shit out of it, and it's like a big narrative point in the game, and like that there's these Reaper things over there. That's where they're at, and it's like the entrance point to this thing is put in a place where you're not definitely going to see one. Like they're over there, but it's like right on the fringe, so you might not. Usually, I wouldn't say might not. You usually don't see one. But I was coming out of that motherfucker last night, and I saw one, and I was like, "Fuck!" and just like. Tear it, just oh my god, just like one, you're not even looking back. Like I'm not even looking back. If it gets me, I'm just fucked. I'm just going. I'm just going until I can't go no more. And like I know I'm in a place that's so shallow I can't even get to. And like oh my god, dude, just like the level of like it's fucking you can't it's impossible to replicate without that constraint, because like if one kills you normally you're just like fuck, I gotta go back here again. But like no, I'm gonna lose 20 hours of my life if I die to that. Fuck yeah, so just so good. Dude. It's amazing how much emotional weight it has to play like that.
The feeling that you're describing is the feeling that I get playing Grounded when I see a Black Widow or a Wolf Spider. I'm just like, I'm not even looking back the direction. I'm just bolting. Because if I got stuff in my backpack, I can't come back to get them. The spider is going to be there and like, it's just gone. Like I'm just gone.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, we talk about all the time about these old games when they're able to generate a little bit of an emotional response is really fucking cool. And modern games no different. So.